Okay, so we're here. We're here. The 2006 African Cup of Nations. Okay, so the '06 Afcon was held between the 20th of January till the 10th of February in Egypt. And the national team at the time for this tournament was coached by Ted Dimitri. So, Ted Dimitri, may his soul rest in peace. He's had an incredibly illustrious career. He's one of the most successful coaches in SA history, you know, and he's one of the first coaches to be like, um, it's gonna follow a long line. It's gonna begin a trend, of having a successful coach come and coach the national team, and it doesn't work out while he's coaching the national team. The success doesn't translate. So, for backstory, Ted, he spent 40 years, give or take, coaching amongst other teams, for example, Zambia and Swaziland, before finally coming to SA in 1985. As I said, Ted was a very illustrious coach. Um, he was more so the cerebral type of coach, developmental coach. He needed time to get to know the players, playing them in their best system. You find a lot of like troubled players that had like disciplinary issues. When they played for Ted, it was like those issues were gone. So he had that, commanding personality to get the respect out of those players and also at the same time nurture and bring the best out of those players. Now, when the announcement that Ted was made coach of the national team, came through, uh, there was, I can say retrospectively, there was still optimism, Even though Sapphire was having its scandals and it was beefing with some national team players, there was still that sort of optimism, because people understood how good of a coach Ted was, And it was maybe a season or two back where Ted had success with Chiefs with that with the Ndofo squad, So people they were cautiously optimistic. I think that's the best way to put it. This was up until the squad was put out. And when I look through the squad lineup, like this, the squad makeup, I'm not gonna lie to you, like if you compare it with like past Afcon teams, it's a bit underwhelming, okay? But let's go through it. In goals, you had Calvin Marlin, Munib Josephs, and Avro Pad. We don't even have to go far. Already, it's a bit concerning. Because Calvin Marlin, at this point, he was getting a bit old. He was still like a good keeper, but he wasn't like where he was 2, 3 years back, But that's not his fault. Age catches up with everyone. Munib is Munib, he's just coming up. He's still young at this point. He's Munib Joseph. He's gonna get good. And Avro Pale, he's one of the more underrated keepers of his time, It's just that like he didn't play for a glamorous team. He played for Cosmos up until a certain point. Then he went to Pirates. And by the time he went to Pirates, he was more so he wasn't that like he was more so a second choice keeper than such. Defense, you had Jimmy Dow, you had Sela Shawalala, you had Ricardo Katza, you had Sponiso Gardner, you had Pierre Isa, Tsebo Masilela, and Vuyo Mere. Again, like all of these guys are solid, but at the same time they don't jump out at you the same way that like the previous team sheets used to. Like looking at it, I can tell you maybe 2, 3 players that honestly speaking they shouldn't have been picked for this team, but it is what it is. Midfield, You had OJ, who at this point was converted into a DM. You had Shaba Ranks, Spiwa Shabalala. You had Mlungisi Gumbi. You had Little Napoleon, El Rio Van Heerden, Joseph Dukuduk Makanya, Siangosi. And yeah, that was the makeup of the midfield. And if you look at it, you will notice that there is a bit of a shortage, of central midfielders. There's absolutely no central midfielders. Look, in a squad of a total of 2, 4, 6, 7 midfielders, only 3 of them are central midfielders. And one was a converted DM, and the other one is a DM that he's average, bruh. Like, I'm not gonna hate. It is what it is. Strike force, we had Tony Nhleko, Siano Vete, Sbusozuma, Beni, Kilampela, and Chessboy. The strike force is fine. I have no issue with that. Most of the guys, they're legends over there. Plus, one of the new crop coming up. So, from my side, strike force, there was no issue. My main issue, well, I had 3 issues with the squad. Firstly, which is why I'm not going to hold too much blame, to Ted Dimitri for the squad, is that it was young, man. Like, you had 3, 6, 7, 8. You had 8 players who were under 23, sorry. In a squad makeup of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 22, 23. In a squad makeup of 23. Well, 18, not counting the keepers, Secondly, as I said, Ted, he's a good coach, he knows what he's doing. But it was just one of those things where, international football wasn't suited for him, If you take into account, the makeup of the international game, you only have a couple of weeks with the players. You have a tournament, 3 weeks, and then they go back to their own teams. And Ted was one of those coaches that needed time to develop, the players into understanding his system, Third issue, as I said, the squad just wasn't impressive. But I attribute that, to the current crop of players that were available at the time. Of course, no one's going to be Lucas Radebe and, Dr. Kumala and Shoes, but yeah, in comparison, it just wasn't that good, So, the team was drawn in a group with Tunisia, Guinea, and Zambia. So, my expectation was at least quarterfinals, But I'm not gonna lie, we got our backs blown out. We got dealt with. Guinea gave us a 2-0. Tunisia gave us a 2-0. And Zambia, at the time we were bullying Zambia, bruh. In the COSAFA Cup, I remember we were bullying Zambia quite a bit. Even they dealt with us 1-0 over there. So we ended up leaving the tournament in the group stages with 0 wins, 3 losses, no goals, and a goal difference of -5. As I said before, I'm not going to put too much blame on the team or Ted because, looking back at it, the team was just too young and Ted is just not the coach for international soccer. But the backlash at the time, it was bad, And Ted, after the Afcon, he was let go from SAFA. But, I don't want it to end off like this because, Ted, even though he had a bad showing at the tournament, as I said before, his legacy extends beyond coaching. This guy, he won 18 trophies, during his time coaching Chiefs, Pirates, and Sundowns. He's probably the most successful coach. I think Beatso might have something to say, but yeah, he's there, And not just that, for example, in 1992, he established the Chibuku Youth Center, which was the first developmental program in SA. Ted went on then to help found the School of Excellence. He got re-involved in the Sundowns Youth Academy program. And on a larger scale, he played a key role, in setting up structures of development for both players and coaches within the country. So there are a lot of players that play to this day, and coaches, who owe their career to Ted Dimitru. So despite what happened at Afcon, I'm not going to hold it against him. I still think he was a great coach.